This is Emmy-nominated rapper, actor, slash the greatest of all times, T.O.N.E's, and you checking out Dispatch Radio.
All right, with us on the phone, you may know her as Willa on True Blood, Amelia Rose Blaire. How are you, ma'am?
I am very good. How are you?
Oh, we're so blessed, and thank you so much for fitting us in. And what an exciting time for you. You had such an impactful role on this extremely popular HBO show, and now you've been picked up as a regular for the final season, Season 7. Tell us a little bit about where we left off in Season 6 for your character, Willa.
Oh, okay. Well, where we left off last season is all the vampires were in vamp camp, and they were being fed Hep V, which is this disease that kills vampires. And our main motley crew of vampires knew about it, so they weren't taking any of the True Blood that was infected. And then everybody escaped, but this disease is probably going to be spreading and threatening the vampire population. So that's where we all left off. And yeah, it's going to be brutal.
Your character has had an incredible change just in and of herself, right? So she starts out of being sort of the daughter of this person that wants to do these experiments, and now she's been transformed into a vampire herself. Tell us about, the filming of that scene. I mean, that was really an emotionally impactful scene.
The turning scene?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we actually filmed that on, I think, two separate days and two separate locations. The part of the scene where we're above ground and walking over to the grave and he's digging up the grave, all of that was shot on location outside. And then everything in the grave was shot on one of the sound stages in this big kind of half cut out grave. And we had to shoot it in many different segments and stop and start because of all the blood. So every time there was a blood gag, we would have to stop, and one of us would have to get hooked up to these blood tubes. And then there's literally a little man sitting there off to the side pumping all this blood so that it would start pouring out and look like I was bleeding and look like Alex was bleeding. So it was very fragmented and not as fluid as it came off in the actual scene. But it was really cool to see how they put it all together, and I was really happy with it. And it's still so strange to watch that scene. It's very surreal.
You have to have probably countless women being relatively envious to at least be able to have the opportunity to have that scene like that with Alexander Skarsgaard. So does that happen pretty often? You got people coming up to you and they recognize you from the show, and that's the scene they talk about?
Yeah, well, yes. The question that everybody seems to ask me is, what is it like working with Alexander Skarsgård? So he's definitely the most popular person that I get talked about, that people talk about with me. So I totally understand that. He's a very compelling character.
Well, and it's not a secret now. We know he'll be back. I know there was a very climactic, I don't want to spoil it for someone who may not have seen the finale, but a very climactic ending for the character there. A very well talked about final scene.
Yeah.
And Season 7, we do have confirmation that Alexander Skarsgård will be back in Season 7 in some capacity. We won't speak on that anymore. So Willa's character, let's go to that a little bit, because you've got a chance to work with a lot of different characters on the show and that kind of thing. Talk a little bit about the storyline with Tara, you and Tara at this barbecue thing, and where that piece of it was. That's really we're going to pick up in Season 7, right? That's where we left them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of Season 6, Willa didn't really have anyone left. Her father has been killed, and Eric has left, and Pam has left, and so Tara is really her main anchor and the one who's teaching her how to be a vampire and how to transition into this new life. So I think that she really looks up to her and sees her as a mentor and a best friend, and is very lucky to have her, because if it wasn't for Tara, I don't know what Willa Willa would do. But I mean, all of the actors on the show are stupendous. They're so good and so powerful. I had the privilege to work with Adina Porter, who plays Letty Mae, for a moment in the end of last season. We had a little scene together, and just in the 2 lines that she said, I was so just blown away by her power and her strength and her command in front of the camera. So I'm really excited for this season because everything's kind of coming together. So I hope and I look forward to working with many members of the cast.
When you guys sit down, I don't know your schedules because I know with a lot of TV shows they're on like every single week. They're doing an episode. With HBO, it's a little bit different. Do you sit down as a whole group and do a read through, or do they divvy it up similar to the way film does?
No, we do a table read for every single episode, which is really cool, and all the guest stars come as well. So we have this table reads in this giant room with a huge table, and everybody's there. And a lot of the time, that's when most people get to see each other because everything's very separate in filming. So that's kind of the big reunion for everyone. But yeah, we do table reads for every episode.
Something like working on True Blood's like a life-changing thing, and this is happened so early in your career. How was it going into this? Were you just excited to be part of the show? Did you realize the magnitude of something like this?
I had a hard time believing that it was actually happening when I first got cast because I had been a fan of the show since season 1. So yeah, I had watched all the characters throughout, the past 5 seasons. So to be a part of a show that I knew and loved so well was like a dream. It's totally surreal. And originally, the character was only supposed to do 4 episodes, and then it got bumped up to 7, and then I ended up doing 9 out of 10. So the whole thing was just very, very surreal.
Well, we're talking to Amelia Rose Blaire about True Blood. We're headed into season 7, the final season of True Blood. She will be a regular on the show. A lot of exciting plot lines and storylines that are all going to come to a head. The vampires and the entire experimentation stuff and the deadly Hep V and all these different things will finally be resolved. Now, Amelia, when you look back and being a fan of different shows and film and that kind of thing, were you always kind of into the vampire thing, or is it just something that, because it's True Blood, or is it, where does Amelia come down on some of this?
I have always liked vampires. I remember when I was younger and I saw Interview with a Vampire for the first time. That was my first introduction to the vampire world, and I was totally taken by it and very, I suppose, seduced by the whole fantasy of vampires. So it's been something that I've been curious about for a long time.
What other, I know you have a film coming up. We talked about it briefly before we started, called Angels and Stardust. Tell us a little bit about the film and your role in that film.
It's a really fun film. It's starring AJ Michalka and Alicia Silverstone and Billy Burke. It takes place in a little town in Texas in the 90s, and it's about this girl who's stuck there, and she escapes through her imagination. And I played her best friend, who was kind of a sassy, very kind of not the most positive of people, but basically all my character was concerned with was which boys she wanted to kiss. So it was a really fun character. It was very different from anything I've done before, and I really look forward to seeing it and seeing how it all turned out.
It's a great cast. Billy Burke, obviously, he's had a great long list of film projects, and of course now the success on Revolution. Did you have a lot of scenes within the other characters, or most of with Alicia?
Most of my scenes were actually with AJ, so I worked with her. I worked with her the most. So I worked with Alicia a little bit, but I actually didn't have a chance to work with Billy. Though I did meet him, and he was very much a gentleman.
Well, it sounds like an exciting time and an exciting project. So, with all of this juggling, especially you guys are in the middle of doing True Blood and all of that right now. So, what kind of things do you get to do for some downtime? How do you even decompress?
Well, I just started sewing. Actually, I got a sewing machine for my birthday. So my goal is to become my own personal tailor, so that I don't have to take clothes in and pay for them to be altered. I just do it myself. So that's what I've been spending a lot of time doing, which is kind of, not the coolest thing, but I love it. I really do. So,
hey, that's a great. Many people don't know how to sew, so you've put yourself in yet another class of a small crowd. So look at that.
Yeah, thank you.
The show, obviously, when you look back and you have so many seasons because you were a fan before, and now you're part of the whole mythology and that kind of thing. What's one of the takeaways as an actress that you have been changed by?
I think that having the opportunity to work on a show like True Blood on HBO, I've had the opportunity to do a lot of things that scare me, and that I look at the scene and I say to myself, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I don't know if I can do this, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it well, and then doing it anyway. That has been something that I continuously come up against, and I keep challenging myself to push through that and to keep pushing my own boundaries. So that's something that I will definitely take away as an actor from True Blood, is pushing my boundaries.
That's a big one. Overcoming fear and pushing her boundaries. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking with Amelia Rose Blaire. She is going to be one of the key regulars on True Blood Season 7, the final season of True Blood. She also has a movie coming out called Angels and Stardust, so we'll be keeping a lookout for that as well. And we really appreciate your time and fitness into your schedule.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And you take care, and God bless.
Thanks. Have a good day.